Now let's head straight to London and bring in former Foreign Minister Alexander Downer. Let's start with the sad news of Parky's passing. Sir Michael Parkinson has died at the age of 88, and you knew him.
Yes, I met him from time to time. He was a very gentlemanly man, a delightful person. But secondly, the consummate professional. He was a marvellous interviewer. As an interviewer, he was able to draw people out, get you to understand the personalities involved. He didn't continually interrupt or debate with people or try to humiliate them. He asked the questions we'd all love to ask of famous people, but always did it in a very polite and gentlemanly way. So he was the consummate interviewer. And the last point I'd make is he loved Australia. I think he owned an apartment in Sydney for some time, but he was very fond of Australia.
Well, what was it about him, you having met him a number of times, what was it about him that put people at ease? You had these A-list celebrities who are often very guarded, who, when they sat down with him, just opened up and revealed a side of themselves that you hadn't seen before.
So it was the charm, I think. He was able to make them feel comfortable. I mean, some interviewers, when they conduct their interviews, take on the subject of the interview. So they have a huge argument with them, and they reckon that's fantastic. But I think from the viewer's point of view, it's probably not. And what Michael Parkinson did was make the subject feel comfortable and conversational. And in the end, they started to reveal a great deal about themselves to him in ways that they wouldn't if they were subject to aggressive questioning, because then they go on the defensive. And, but it was the sheer charm of the man that brought out all the information. He was fantastic.
It must have been that charm, because you see a lot of softball interviews where they really don't draw the person out. They don't get much new out of them, but he always seemed to get something special. There was that combative interview he did. We played a bit of it earlier with Meg Ryan. I think he said he regretted that, where for some reason she rubbed him up the wrong way, and he was not happy with how she was answering his questions. Now, let's move on to Afghanistan. The Taliban has now been in power there for 2 years. Joe Biden has a lot to answer for that botched withdrawal. Everything has gone backwards in that country, Alexander. Women's rights in particular. The Taliban remain brutal, backward, and girls are right now banned from going to school. Women can't travel without male chaperones. It's really a tragedy what's happened in that country.
Well, I thought actually it was a policy, to be technically accurate, that was started by Donald Trump and followed through by Joe Biden to withdraw from Afghanistan, if you like, unconditionally, not to negotiate some arrangement with the Taliban, a power-sharing arrangement with the then government of President Ghani of Afghanistan, but just to withdraw and allow the country to be taken over by the Taliban. I thought it was one of the great historic disasters, in particular of American, but more broadly Western foreign policy. And of course, you've ended up with a government there, well, you've said it all, a government that doesn't allow girls to go to secondary school or to tertiary education, and says they're thinking about doing so at some stage in the future. I mean, it's absolutely preposterous. But over and above that, of course, this is a government that runs the country very badly, has no economic policy, so people are living in dire poverty. The agricultural system doesn't work properly. I mean, it's a shocking situation, and I think it's a very sad thing that ultimately the Biden administration just suddenly walked out of Afghanistan, and in doing so transmitted a message to people like Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin that the West was weak. The West wouldn't stay the course. The rest is history, I'm afraid.
Well, the Democrats and the Republicans are on the same page about getting out of Afghanistan. It was the manner of the withdrawal, the botched withdrawal, that I think brings shame on the country. The fact that they said the country wasn't going to fall to the Taliban and it fell within days. The fact that they left behind hundreds of millions, if not billions, dollars worth of arms, and it was botched in so many ways, including the loss of US Army personnel, because it was so chaotic in those final days.